Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and today I'm continuing on with my week of tag videos. This is in celebration of hitting 1,000 subscribers. So I am posting 7 videos in 7 days of tags. Today I'm going to do the A to Z book tag, and this one has been floating around a little bit on BookTube lately. I don't know how old this one is, and I don't know who created it. I think it was a blogger. I will definitely find out before I post this and include it in the box below, so please go and check out that person, whoever it is. The last person that I saw do this was Sue from Sue's Book Nook. I will also link up her video below. You should definitely go and check her out. She's one of my favorite people to watch on BookTube, so you should go and watch her. Anyway, I am just going to get into this. There are 26 questions. It is A to Z, so there is a question corresponding to every letter of the English alphabet, and let's just get started. So A author that you have read the most from. So I ended up going on Goodreads to find this out. I wasn't entirely sure. I actually had written in my book that it was Jane Austen. I assumed it was going to be Jane Austen because I have read quite a lot of Jane Austen, but she hasn't written that many books, and I was quite surprised when I went on Goodreads that actually the top 3 authors that I've read from are Tamara Pierce, who is a mostly YA fantasy author, William Shakespeare. Actually, I wasn't surprised by that, but I had forgotten because I am working through reading most of Shakespeare. And then my third most read author is Shannon Hale, who also is a mostly YA fantasy author, although she does write some adult contemporary novels as well. B is the best sequel you've read. Now, I actually don't read sequels very often. I'm mostly a standalone novel reader, but there was a very short period of time where I was reading a lot of YA fantasy, so obviously that's where my top 2 reads come from. So probably my favorite sequel out of those is Tamara Pierce's Daughter of the Lioness duology, I think the word is. It's just two books, and I'm going to count them both, and basically it's a sequel to the Song of the Lioness Quartet, which is her first big series, or her first series entirely, and it's like the series that everyone kind of remembers Tamara Pierce for, but I really like the story about the protagonist's daughter. Yeah, it's a really good series. I think it's really well written, it's really fun to read. And I just really enjoy it. I read it quite often. It's actually one of the few prose YA novels that I own. So C is currently reading. I'm not actually currently reading pretty much anything, except for I do have a couple of books on hold because of readathons that I didn't finish. So I am still in the middle of East of Eden, and I'm still in the middle of Tristan and Isolde. I don't know that I'm currently reading anything else that's prose. And at the moment I am just about to pick up Twin Nights by Osamu Tezuka. That just happens to be the next book that I am currently going to pick up. D is your drink of choice while reading, and normally anything cold would be the answer. If I have something cold in the house, I will be drinking that regardless of what it is. I like cold drinks. And that's pretty much it. Anything that's got ice in it is my favorite drink. E is e-reader or physical book. I don't mind either, but I'm not going to buy an e-books. I refuse to buy e-books. They're really things that I expect either as ARCs, or I expect as university textbooks because that's all they're providing, or I will borrow it from the library. And I don't particularly want to read digital copies of things. Except for when I'm studying in school, because it's wonderful for studying in school. It is so much easier to write a paper when you can Control F or use a find function and find an exact quote that you're looking for so that you can reference it in your paper. I don't know like what I did in university before e-readers existed. But as far as like owning and reading for like enjoyment, physical books all the way. Fictional character you would have dated in high school. If I had to date someone, I would say the best of all of Jane Austen's heroes, and that is Mr. Tilney. Mr. Darcy does not hold a candle to Mr. Tilney. Mr. Tilney is great right out of the gates. He's wonderful. I love him. Glad you gave this book a chance. I'm gonna go with a book that I didn't give a chance to. I really wasn't expecting anything from it. I was actually expecting to hate it, but I had to read it for school, and I ended up loving it. It was probably my favorite book that I've read for school so far, and that would be Leo Africanus by Amin Malouf. It's just good. It is so good. It's like really well written. It's about a fascinating, like, real person from history who just has this like varied and tumultuous history, and it was just like, it was wonderful to read, and I really enjoyed it. H is a hidden gem book. I'm going to go with two because why not? One of them is Ketera and Lord Death by Martine Levitt, which is a YA sort of folk tale retelling. And I love, this one is just like a lot of atmosphere. It doesn't have like the greatest ratings on Goodreads, but I just like the flow of this one. It does feel a lot more like a folk tale than it would sort of like a modern retelling, and so I just really liked the pattern of this story. The other one would be All the Names by Jose Saramago. He's the author of Blindness. You never hear about anyone talking about All the Names, and it's just like, it's such a good book. It's so well written, it's so mysterious, so thought-provoking. It's just like, people should read it, and it's short, like it's an easy one to pick up. Highly recommend that one. It's really good. I is an important moment in your reading life. In school, like most of the reading that we did were like kind of modern or literary modern type stories. A lot of them were like YA modern stories, and I absolutely hated them. And it wasn't until we read Charles Dickens in 8th grade that I was like, oh, I actually like reading, and maybe this is something that I want to do more often. And like, up until that point, like I genuinely was like, I could give or take reading. It was not something that was important to me, and it wasn't something that I really like loved or really appreciated until like Tale of Two Cities was like, it finally kind of clicked in my mind. The other sort of most important thing was in 2003 when I finally borrowed Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind from my public library. That was the day that I started reading manga, and I have been reading hundreds and hundreds of volumes of manga every year since. So that was sort of a kind of pivotal moment in my life, especially my reading life. J is just finished. I haven't just finished a prose novel in a couple of weeks now, but I did just finish two manga. One of them is A Bunny Drop by Yumi Unita. I've been reading this, or trying to read this, for the last few months, and I finally read it. I've had so many people tell me, oh, there's this big twist in it, I can't wait to see what your reaction is. It was okay. That's my reaction. It's not super exciting. It is about a man and a little girl in their relationship. She ends up becoming somewhat orphaned, and so he ends up taking her in sort of as her adoptive father, and so it's about their relationship and him learning to become a parent, and then just sort of like how life changes as she moves on from becoming a child, or from being a child into graduating high school, being a teenager, becoming a young woman. So that's basically what the story is. It was super predictable, and like every page I was like, oh yeah, that happened now. So it was really unfortunate because I was expecting so much from it, but it was pretty average. K is the kinds of books you won't read, and there really genuinely is only one thing that I won't read, and that is self-published anything. Because there have been so many times that I have had to read self-published things and not been impressed. And, you know, there's a reason that publishing exists. There's a reason that editing is, you know, a paid profession. It is an art. It is a skill. It is absolutely necessary to fine-tune whatever great idea that you have. And I have no intention of reading something that hasn't been through the proper vetting process. I just can't. I can't do it anymore. I don't have the time for it. I don't like it. L is the longest book you've read. I actually don't read long books a whole lot. Even my manga is not normally more than 500 pages, so there aren't really too many long books. As far as like nonfiction goes, probably the longest thing that I've read is the book known as the Art History Bible, Jansen's History of Art. The thing is so massive that one day when I installed a brand new shelf on my wall. It was one of those ones that just sort of like floats on your wall, and I had 2 Jansen History of Art books because of university, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to use these as bookends because they're like massive and wonderful, and I put one on the shelf, and the shelf broke off the wall because it was too heavy. So there's that. But at the same time, like, it's got thick pages and it's almost all pictures, so, but the thing is brick. And probably the other longest book that I've read is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. M is for a book that gave you a major book hangover. Probably did a video about book hangovers at one point, and probably the manga that I ended up choosing was Old Boy by some author that I can't remember at the moment. And it is a manga basically about a man who's been incarcerated, and he doesn't know why, and then all of a sudden he's been released and he's kind of trying to figure out why this thing happened. And it's pretty slow, but it's also like a psychological type thriller, and just the way that it ends is so quiet and in some ways dissatisfying that it's really satisfying, and I couldn't stop thinking about it afterwards. And even when I was reading other things, I kept thinking about it, so probably that, but I was still like reading other things. Number of bookcases you own. Uh-oh. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in this room full of comics. There's 2 in the hall, that makes 10 that have Japanese books and history books on. There's 1 downstairs that has art books on it, so that's 11. There's 2 in our living room. That's 13 that have my classics on it. There's 1 in the hall, that's 14, that has nonfiction books about nerd culture on it. 15, I think. I have 1 in my room that's just like whatever I'm studying at the moment. I'm currently English, so that's, what did I come up with, 15? Yeah, 15. And they're all pretty much this big. I don't have a lot of books. O is 1 book that you've read multiple times. Probably the book that I've read the most is Book of 1,000 Days by Shannon Hale, but also maybe Jane Austen in general, because I reread her, but I don't know that any of her books I've read more than that 1 book in particular. Your preferred place to read, that's my bed, but I'll read pretty much anywhere as long as I'm sitting down. Q is a quote that inspires you or gives you the feels, and no other quote than this one by Michelangelo Buonarroti in Irving Stone's The Agony and the Ecstasy, which is, "Bleed me of art, and there won't be enough liquid left in me to spit." R is reading regret, and as much as I don't regret too much, probably the one thing that I was really annoyed having read, which is too bad because actually I know quite a few of my friends or the people around me, this is one of their favorite books, or if not their favorite book, and that's Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. I hate this book so much. And it was the book that I read at the same time in the same class as Amin Malouf's Leo Africanus. This one I just found super duper pretentious, and you know, it was nicely written, but it just drove me up the wall. I hated it so much. And then the art descriptions, like, I studied art in university, like, it just got right under my skin. Yeah. S is a series that you've started but need to finish. Like I said before, I don't really normally read prose series very often. I don't really think I have too much on the go that I intend on completing, if anything. But for manga, probably the series that I need to complete maybe the most is Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto, because it has been complete now for, what, 2 years, and a new series has started, and I've only read, like, maybe 30 volumes from that series of 72. It's about time I get on it and finish it already. T is 3 of your all-time favorite books. I'm gonna go with Clewick by Emily Carr, which is an autobiographical account of her life living in the Northwest Coast with the indigenous population, and it's beautiful, wonderful. You should read it. Another of them would be Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. It's more of her like personality showing, I think, in this novel, and I just really love that about it. And my third one would be a children's novel by Minder de Jong, I think her name is, called Wheel on the School, which is about a Dutch fishing village and the children trying to encourage storks to roost in their town once again. And it's wonderful, and you should read it because it's beautiful. U is unapologetic fan for, obviously there's really only one thing, and that would be manga. It's my favorite thing, and it's something that I have been collecting and obsessing over for years and years, and I don't suppose it'll ever stop. This is just the thing that I love, and everybody who meets me gets to know that almost right away, because it's not something that, you know, it's something I like to share with people. I have no problems being a nerd about it. Apart from that, maybe a surprise to some of you, I'm a super fangirl for Jane Austen. I know there's a lot of us out there, Austenites or whatever, but I love Jane Austen. Anytime I see Jane Austen on things, or Jane Austen anything, I want it, and I love it, and I love her, and I love her books, and I read them all the time, and I watch her movies all the time, and I probably can recite the 2005 Pride and Prejudice word for word if you want it at some time. I don't really feel like it, but I could, including, you know, musical interludes, as could pretty much anyone else in my family, because we have watched it that much. Jane Austen and manga. It's kind of a weird combo, but both things. I love them the most. Oh, and bunnies. I love bunnies too. V is very excited for this release more than any other. I've said this on many videos, but Akira by Katsuhiro Otomo, the new hardcover box set publication from Kodansha, is coming out soon. I have it pre-ordered. Hooray. W is your worst bookish habit. I would actually say not finishing books. I'm really bad at finishing books. Even in manga, I tend to read most of a series and then I won't read like the very last volume. I can't tell you why. I just stop. I always plan on like going back. It's not like I've dropped it forever. I stop and then I start reading something else. Same with novels. I will read most of a novel and then just not finish the last like 10 pages. I can't explain why. I'm really bad at it. It works with TV and stuff too. I always will like binge a series and then not watch the last episode. I don't know. I don't know why. X marks the spot. It says, find the 27th book on your shelf. Okay, just give me a minute. Hi, so me from the future. So I went to go and film my shelf with my camera, and turns out my camera won't function at all unless it's plugged in, and so it's just super awkward to go and film my shelf and me counting my shelf. So instead, I'm going to show you the 27th book on all of my shelves, but you won't get to actually see me count, unfortunately. But here they are. The Aeneid by Virgil. There once lived a woman who tried to kill her neighbor's baby. Scary Fairy Tales by Ludmila Petrushevskaya. This is medieval art, painting, sculpture, architecture, 4th to 14th century by James Snyder. Nihongo Challenge, preparation for the Japanese language proficiency test, and 4. And this is Kotoba vocabulary. This is Little Red Riding Hood. The annotated classic fairy tales, edited with an introduction by Maria Tatar. Dreamland Japan, writings on modern manga by Frederick Schott. Battle Royale Volume 3 Ultimate Edition by Kushun Takami and Masayuki Taguchi. Black Lagoon, number 7 by Rei Hiroe. The Boy Princess Volume 1 by So Young Kim. Ikigami The Ultimate Limit, number 8 by Motoro Mase. Ludwig B. Volume 2 by Osamu Tezuka. My Codenamer's Charmer, Volume 1 Psychic School Suspense by Narumi Kakinochi. Volume 7 of Oku The Inner Chamber by Fumio Shinaga. And then my last one, this one is Japanese, Yuatase's Sakuragari. Okay, so that's it. I will return back to old me. Why is your latest book purchase? The very last thing that I bought by Yokoyama. The title is called Iceland, and yeah, it just came out through this little publisher, and I'm super excited about getting it. I got a message from the publisher saying that it was on its way, so yeah, that is what I bought. Super excited about it. This author is a fine artist, and he sort of decided that the way that he wanted to showcase his art, he thought that the best way that he could kind of express his art was through kind of the format or the medium of manga, but it definitely is very kind of surreal, very different than a lot of the manga that I have read, and it's wonderful, and I can't wait for more books by Yokoyama. Zed is Z's Snatcher, and that is a book that kept you up way too late. I can't answer this question. I'm not that kind of a reader. You know, when I'm tired, I don't read anymore. I'm done. I don't need to read anymore. Yeah, this one doesn't work for me at all, unfortunately, so. Anyway, that's it for my A to Z book tag. I will be tagging people in the box below. Definitely go and check out, see if you've been tagged. If you want to do this tag, please feel free to do it. Let me know if you did decide to do it, and I will check out your videos. I really like this one. I think it's got some good, interesting, different questions on it that I haven't seen asked in a lot of videos, so this one was kind of fun to do. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting, and I will see you in my next one. Bye for now.